Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And my name is Miska.
And welcome to Overwatch Central. So, is this the worst season we've had so far when it comes to toxicity? It remains to be seen. We're still only 2 weeks into the new season with like 8 weeks left to go. So it is really hard to say overall whether it will be the most toxic season we've seen so far. But we've had a few seasons at this point and we seem to be in a loop going over several things. We've been here before discussing how toxic competitive seems, how to fix it and so on. That's not why we're here to talk about this today. Today we want to be a little bit more pragmatic about whether ranked is actually as bad as it feels. But saying that, there are some huge things happening in the game that may actually change the landscape of competitive play.
When we sat down to talk about toxicity in Overwatch, we noticed a bit of a pattern forming. Like the competitive season had somewhat of a lifespan and a life cycle that would repeat. It would start with players doing their placements, being placed lower than they finished the last season, because that's just what the season does nowadays, spending the first month trying their best to climb and meeting very passionate players trying to do the same, tempers boil over and you meet very emotional players that like to get mad as well. This kinda goes on for the first month. In the second month, the competitive ladder quietens down a little bit. This is mostly when players describe the season as a bit of a grind, as most players are around where they should be and everyone is focusing on climbing but mostly stagnating to a certain SR. Then you get to the final third of the season, where people are winding down to prepare for the next season and the whole mood is just very different. The cycle then repeats itself and starts again in the next season, and this has happened for the past few seasons, maybe the past 3 or so, with players saying at the start of a new season that it's incredibly toxic and that it's the worst that it's ever been, and then it dies down after a while. Whilst we do agree that a toxic Overwatch is not fun to play and definitely a problem, we're not necessarily sure whether this is the most toxic season yet. We feel like this sentence, or at least these words, are being thrown around a lot though, hence why we're bringing it up.
The argument to this point could be one-tricks. The popularity of one-tricks over the last few seasons has gone up dramatically. For the very experienced and good players climbing to the heights of GM and top 500, there may not be that challenge anymore. Instead, they want to find another thing that they can do. They know that the fun is in the journey and not necessarily the destination. Thus, one-tricks were born. As I just said, the popularity of one-tricks overall has obviously grown. So say for example we have a player that played up to season 4 about midway through and then came back for season 5. They will have been greeted by a few more one-tricks that were around previously. Since the very first season, it just feels that overall people care a little bit less about the whole thing. But there are some major things coming to fruition when it comes to bans and leaver penalties to solve some of the negative toxicity that's in the game.
Without going into too much detail, a pro player was banned for the full competitive season actually, because he was streaming him throwing games, playing Torbjorn, setting up a turret at his spawn and just whacking away. We're not really sure why he was doing it in the first place, to be honest, maybe to show that Blizzard not really punished this sort of behavior, or just to D-rank for whatever reason. And they did punish him in the end and just ban him, like I said. The effect that this ban had on the community was quite big. This player was a very highly ranked player, and to see this guy get banned for this toxic and griefing type of behavior was kind of odd and very different. Our problem has always been though that we don't know whether the abusive throwers or leavers actually received any punishment for the things that they did in the end, so seeing this player publicly be denounced by Blizzard in this sort of way is quite huge. There also was the news that Blizzard overall are going to be much tougher on throwers and leavers. Jeff Kaplan posted that our philosophy has been that we would rather not have leavers playing the game at all, especially in competitive play. We keep increasing the penalty for leaving and will continue to do so. We're in the process of implementing a new policy which would take into account how many competitive seasons you have been banned from, and at a certain point prevent you from playing competitive ever again. This is pretty massive actually, just for the game overall, but much like the changes to win streaks and no longer matchmaking queues, A, they will take a while to implement, and B, will we really know when this is added, or will it be more of a quiet type of addition? Either way, this is great news to deal with some of the toxicity problems in Overwatch, but our main point is with this video that ranked might not be as bad as you think it is. At least we don't think it's getting that much worse.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Do let us know below what you think Overwatch should do, Blizzard should do when it comes to trying to solve some of these problems with negative leavers, griefers, all that kind of thing that they're not necessarily doing now. And whether you think that these changes that we're going to see are going to make much of an effect. But overall, our lesson here today is try not to be caught up with the emotional response that ranked is getting worse, it's getting more toxic. There's nothing really to suggest that, but it's important that Blizzard keep on top of this and try and make the experience as positive as they possibly can. But until next time, take care. We'll see you then.